Hey guys, Apocalyptic Jet here.
Epic Leprechaun here.
Today we're going to talk to you about our theories and the main storyline of Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies.
Yep, as we promised, we're bringing everything to you on one single channel. We're going to bring you guys all up to date and get ready for Black Ops 3 to come out.
But about time we're getting this video we keep talking about out, right?
Yeah, right? I mean, we've talked about it in future videos. We've talked about it in old videos.
Yeah, we have talked about it in future videos, that's right. But they don't understand the space-time continuum.
Oh.
But you know who does?
We do.
And Treyarch, because they're a bunch of pricks.
Treyarch
time travel
definitely
shit.
does, yes. So that's what we're going to talk to you about a little bit. So we're going to talk to you about their time traveling deal. We're going to talk to you about how the story kind of ties into Origins, how it ties into Mob of the Dead,
Yep.
Shadows of Evil.
Yep.
All of these maps from Notch.
Durantoten.
Yeah.
Night of the Dead.
Night of the Dead. From Night of the Dead all the way up to the Black Ops 3, both maps, we're going to talk to you about how all of these tie together.
All right, so let's stop talking about talking and let's get talking.
All right, deal.
All right. So what do we know? We know the story of zombies starts with Der Riese. We know that's where the story starts. But there's been a couple maps out before that that really didn't have a story that they backtrack and they put a story on. Correct?
Yes.
And those three maps are Notch Durantoten,
Verut.
Verut is next, and then Shinonuma. Those are the ones that really didn't have much of a story at the beginning. But like I said, they backtracked and they applied a story to it. So let's start with Notch. Right?
Okay.
What do we know from radios and gameplay? We know that there wasn't really much to be known back then.
Yeah, there was
Notch.
very little in Notch, if any at all, really.
We knew of the Element 115.
Yep, they talked to us about that.
Obviously, you have the box, which has wonder weapons. And with that being said, let's just start with that.
Wonder weapons.
And Element 115.
Yes.
It has mystical powers that is capable of two things. Time travel. That's why sometimes you can get futuristic weapons in the box.
Which they experimented with teleportation. And later kind of discovered that the teleportation is not just teleportation, but time travel.
Yes. And which we'll get into that later once we get into Der Riese. Same thing about Verut, right? Verut. What do we know about Verut? We know there's a little bit of fighting going on amongst the Soviets and America, because that's where Dempsey comes in, right?
Yes. This is where as far as our story goes, this is where Richtofen finds Tank Dempsey. Tank Dempsey being an American spy.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty much all we know about Verut. We just know that there was the battle going, the Element kind of took over, and what the Element does is wherever the Element is held, anything that was dead there is reanimated.
And there's kind of a reason for that later on.
Yes. Yep, there is a reason for that later, but just as a rough story for now, anything that's dead in the area gets reanimated.
Right. And what do we know about Shinonuma?
Shinonuma is where they were actually first doing the tests.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where, if you've seen the giant trailer, they talk about test subjects. All right, the test subjects are, we have Nikolai.
Yep.
Okay, we have Takio.
Yep.
And we have, who's the third one? Who am I missing?
It's not Dempsey, because Dempsey wasn't
Nope.
a test yet.
Dempsey was not a test yet, but there was...
It was the Mexican
yes,
guy, right?
correct. So there was a Mexican test subject. If you listen to some of the radios, it tells you that the test subject, the Mexican, actually ended up dying from unknown source. Richtofen could not explain. All he knew was that the test subject's spleen was laying on the floor.
Yes.
Okay, so Richtofen did a couple more tests and found out that it's not because of the spleen that the test failed or that the Mexican died, but something else. So we know that.
And we know that that's why Dempsey was chosen, because he was there to replace
Yes.
the Mexican.
So
Yeah.
Richtofen, found out about the spy that was coming to Verut. He went there. They did battle. Dempsey was the only one to survive the battle. Richtofen then captured him as his next test subject.
And also, their memories were wiped, correct?
Yes.
That's why a lot of them don't remember how they got there.
During tests, Richtofen found out that their memories got wiped, but it was something to do with the test. And their minds kind of got broken during the test,
Okay.
is what it was. And so that's why there's one piece of every character that remains with them when their minds get broken, such as Nikolai. He cannot function without vodka.
He's an alcoholic, and that
Yes.
stays with him.
So that is something that Richtofen found out.
And sadly, the memory of his wives. You always hear him talking about
Yes.
wives. Maybe that's why he's an alcoholic.
Yeah, well, that's very true.
But and Takio's honor.
Takio grew up in a family that was very much oriented in honor.
Yep.
But Takio had kind of his dark side, and his family kind of disowned him for this dark side. And
That's right. He wanted to kill.
yes,
all the time.
he wanted to kill. That's why he joined the war, and he wanted to kind of. His family thought that him joining the war was going to kind of get that out of him, and little did they know, Richtofen had a different plan. But
And then
but
Dempsey.
yes, also with Takio, there's a proverb, and it doesn't necessarily say exactly what the proverb is, but when Richtofen was experimenting on him, he realized that Takio would sit with his eyes closed and recite this proverb over and over and over.
Yes.
Okay?
Now, see, what's Dempsey's? What does he hold on to?
Dempsey.
It's just war, that typical American badassery.
All right. So first off, let's explain that Richtofen, Maxis, pretty much all the Russians there, they had kind of a dislike for Americans. They didn't even want an American test subject to begin with.
True.
Because Richtofen thought, with our baseball and our hamburgers and, all that kind of stuff that
He was jealous.
he thought Americans were, just vile, stupid individuals.
Animals,
Yeah. He didn't like us at all. So when he started experimenting on Tank, he realized that, while yes, he thought Tank was an idiot, he realized that Tank held on to that motivation. Like he didn't care. He was an idiot, but he showed loyalty. He showed
Willpower.
Willpower.
Yep.
Willpower was big.
Yep.
So that's kind of what Tank had with him, is willpower. He never gave up on anything.
So you guys got some insight so far of our four main characters, and now we go into Doris. This is the big map. This is why they're remaking it, and it's changing the storyline, because this is where it originally all started, with the old timeline. Like what you've seen in the Giant trailer, that's new timeline that was kind of interfering with the old timeline.
Yes, and we'll get more into that later after we kind of explain
The original timeline,
The original
yes.
timeline. We're going to explain the original timeline and then come back full circle.
So what do we know from the original timeline? We have Maxis and Richtofen, right?
Yes.
Two Germans working in the group 935, experimenting with the element 115.
Correct. Maxis was the leader. Maxis was head of everything.
Yep.
Richtofen supposedly was supposed to be the partner, but Maxis kept him as a senior assistant.
Yes.
Okay, so Richtofen was not a partner. Richtofen did not have co-leader
Correct.
powers or whatever you want to call it. So Maxis ran the whole thing and kind of pushed Richtofen down a little bit. So that plays in a little bit here in a second.
Yes. Actually, more than a second, because we got to backtrack a little bit. Because remember, Richtofen went through the teleporter and he.
Nope, that's after he already had his doubts about Maxis.
Okay, but
Okay.
I thought we were gonna talk into the how it all started. But this
We
is,
are,
This
we
is
are.
this is before it started.
Yeah, this
Richtofen discovered the teleporter. He teleported where first? Moon, right?
Okay, still gotta backtrack a little bit. All right.
Where at?
So they're experimenting with 115. Okay. Their sole purpose was to experiment with teleportation. That's what
Okay,
they
yep.
wanted to do. Their Project 935, their group, got cut funding. So Maxis actually went to the Wunderwaffe, the group Wunderwaffe, or the company,
Really?
and started experimenting with weapons. So Wunderwaffe wanted Maxis to use 115 to produce high-powered weapons. Hence, we have the Wunderwaffe DG2.
Okay.
Okay? So this was kind of the path that Maxis now went on to get funding. That is what he wanted, funding. He thought if he produced enough weapons that it could end the war, and with their help, they're the heroes, so they get more funding in return. Richtofen wanted to stay on the same path and
Do the actual goal.
do the teleportation. While experimenting, they did a teleportation on a walnut. The walnut, then after, and this is after lots of failed experiments, the teleporter never worked. They successfully teleported the walnut. Richtofen got super excited and went to Dr. Maxis and told him about it. Dr. Maxis was pissed. Dr. Maxis said, why are we focusing our time on this stupid walnut? We're not in the business of teleporting walnuts. Nobody cares. I can see it now. Richtofen's Walnut Company, teleporting walnuts. That's what we do. And he completely shot it down. This is when Richtofen started to get mad and thought that Maxis was losing sight of the original goal.
Which is believable.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much. All right. Again, they mess with it a little bit against Maxis's will. Richtofen keeps experimenting with 115, and eventually gets to the point where they need a live test subject to go through the teleporter.
And this is where Richtofen did it himself?
Richtofen volunteered to do it himself. So he stepped into the teleporter on, it was January 4th, 1940. Okay? He stepped into the teleporter, got teleported to the moon. While at the moon, he noticed the MDT, right? This is the pyramid.
And it holds all the secrets.
Yes. So this was a crazy device. He'd never seen it before, had no idea what it was. He walked up to it, put his hand on it, and got teleported again.
Shangri-La?
Shangri-La.
Oh, I got it!
So he's in Shangri-La. He spends 3 weeks there. During this 3 weeks, he finds writings, he finds transcripts, he finds all this stuff, and starts studying the Vril.
And that is the key to all this zombies storyline. The Vril is like the subliminal messages hidden in all of it. And it's like who they were according to like real life documentations and like other real life myths and stuff that of course we can't prove because it's all hearsay back in the day. Like these were actual books written back in the day around what? The same time frame, World War II, talking about how Nazis and the Germans were always trying to do some experiments and, talking about Vrils and secret society and stuff like that.
So what we know based on the readings and stuff about the Vril actually is a force.
Yes.
So the Vril is like this super powerful mega force that
It's like the Asians' chi, but on steroids.
yes, exactly. So yeah, this thing is nothing to be messed with. And so also what we know by that is it's guarded. It's guarded by these ancient people known as the Vrilia.
Yep.
Okay, so they guard this thing, and it's in a place called
Agartha. Where do we know that from? A lot of the other maps we will soon talk about.
Yeah, so when you're playing Shangri-La, you're going to hear if you listen to the radios, you're going to hear the explorers talk about
We'll get more into that later.
Agartha. Yeah, I'm just...
All right.
Basically, you hear Samantha talk about Agartha during the Origins map. So you've heard Agartha before.
Yes.
But this is what it is.
And this is where Richtofen first discovered all this. It's why he has this master plan.
Yes, this is where Richtofen starts to come up with this plan. So Agartha is basically a city that's in Middle Earth. Okay? So it's based on the belief that Earth is hollow.
Yes.
And that there's this giant city in the middle of Earth.
Yes.
There's only one way into this city, and that is through the ether.
Yep.
Okay? So we also know what the ether is because, we hear Richtofen and Samantha. That's where they're talking to us from during our entire zombies thing here, our entire story.
All right. So back on track. He's at Shangri-La. He's getting all this information about all this stuff. And what's he do?
After spending 3 weeks there, he teleports back.
Okay.
January 23rd, 1940. He teleports back to Durris.
Yeah, and this is where the group's main lab is.
Yes, this is where all of 935 is camped out right now. So he now has all of this knowledge. He knows what the Vril is. He knows about Agartha. He knows about the ether. He knows about all this stuff. He thinks Maxis does too. He thinks Maxis is now hiding something from him.
Okay, this is where he starts to go crazy.
Yeah. So he takes two of his best doctors, right? So we have Dr. Groff and we have Dr. Schuster.
Yep.
Okay? He takes both of them and they go to the moon. And this is where they start building that base, Griffin Station.
Yep.
Okay? It takes them 2 years. 2 years to build this thing. And in the meantime, while Dr. Groff and Dr. Schuster are taking control of the moon base, Richtofen continues his charade as Maxis's lead assistant. All right? So they're up there. Richtofen is down. They build Griffin Station, and they start to experiment on the MDT.
Okay, this is Maxis and Richtofen finally working together a little bit.
Right, but it's all a kind of a charade
for Richtofen.
For Richtofen,
he's got a plan.
Richtofen has a plan.
Right.
He's keeping a close eye on Maxis to make sure nothing happens, but at the same time, he's got his own plan that's taking place on the moon. Right, so after 2 years, they start working on trying to figure out exactly what the MDT does. So again, the MDT is that pyramid that we see on moon. All right. They notice these glass cylinders that are on the side. We know those from the Easter egg.
Yep.
Right? There's they still have no idea what these things do.
The mouse.
Yes. So then all of a sudden, a mouse comes running through. One of them stomps on the mouse and kills it next to the MDT. And it starts to fill up those little cylinders.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, breakthrough. They call Richtofen and they go, hey, we know how this thing works. We know how we can open it. Richtofen, says, all right, open it, but, don't do anything to it until I get there. So they start bringing in subjects, and it doesn't tell us what they were. I don't know if they were zombies. I don't know if they were people. I don't know what they were. But they start bringing them in and killing them next to this MDT, right? And you know that it's something bad because in one of the radios, you hear Dr. Schuster or Dr. Groff. I'm not sure which one.
I'm not either.
But he states that, they're going to hell. Like, this shit is not right.
Yes.
They should not be doing this. So, but anyway, they fill this thing up. And the MDT opens. They call Richtofen and they say, hey, this thing's open, right? All in the meantime, shit's going down in Durris. And this is where the trailer for the Giant comes in. This is where
it comes in a little bit after what Richtofen did with Maxis and Samantha. The trailer the voices you hear, if you actually pay attention to the beginning of it, it's actually going through the dialogue of what's happening. And we explained a little bit about that in the trailer, but we'll explain a little bit more right now.
Yeah. So this is what's going on while they're, in Doris. So they're testing subjects again, and they test a dog, and it's not Fluffy, not this time. Okay. First, they're testing a dog. It teleports. It fucking dies.
Yep.
Like nothing happens, right? So they have no idea what's going on. So they tinker with it a little bit more, and then they put Fluffy in there.
Okay.
Right? Fluffy goes in, teleports, and Fluffy's gone. They have no idea where Fluffy went. Maxis thought this was an indication of a failed experiment. He thought that, it didn't work. Fluffy didn't come back through the mainframe. So he goes into the teleporter, right? And all of a sudden, Fluffy spawns in as a hellhound.
Yep.
So Fluffy's there as a hellhound. Samantha walks into the room,
Freaked out a little bit.
sees Fluffy, and like Jed said, freaks out. She's like, yo, what happened to Fluffy? What's going on?
Where's my dog, bitch?
Yeah. So Maxis, he's kind of pissed that Samantha's down in the room, calls her to him. They kind of huddle together. He tries to explain to her that that's not Fluffy anymore. This is something else.
Yep.
And all while that's going down, and they're still inside that teleporter, Richtofen shuts the door and teleports them away.
He's like, fuck you guys.
Yeah. So this is when Richtofen's plan finally starts to come together.
Yes.
This was Richtofen's plan from the beginning. Get rid of Maxis, get rid of Samantha,
Yep.
and do his own thing.
But he didn't realize he fucked up right there.
Yes. Why did he fuck up? Okay.
Well, of course, there's no set destination of where it teleports. He didn't know Samantha was going to teleport straight to the moon and get inside that MD2, right? MDT? MDT.
Okay. Yes. So, he thought that when the teleporter went off, it was going to kill them.
Yes.
That's what he thought. He thought they were going to die. But they didn't. Okay. They survived. Samantha ended up on the moon and comes running through Griffin Station, freaking out, right? Dr. Grove, Dr. Schuster, they try to grab her. She runs into the MDT, and it shuts. Samantha is now trapped inside the MDT, immediately taking control of the zombies.
Yes.
Okay? So Dr. Schuster, Dr. Grove, they're freaking out about it. They call Richtofen. Richtofen goes, all right, first things first. Samantha teleported to the moon. Where did Dr. Maxis go? He's got to be close.
And nobody's quite sure where he's at.
Nobody at the time is sure, but somehow they found him,
Yes.
right? And this isn't explained quite thoroughly, but they find him, and they bring him to Griffin Station,
Yep.
and they're going to finish the job, right? But first, they grant him access to talk to his daughter. So he's talking to his daughter, and their plan is he talks to his daughter, and he convinces her to open up the MDT and come out. So he's talking to her.
Fucked up again.
He's kind of being nice about it. He's saying, Samantha, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean for this to happen. And then he says, Samantha, can you do me one favor? Kill group 935.
Yep.
All of them.
And this is the main reason why our four heroes are fighting zombies.
Yes.
Because Richtofen's looking for something, and it's not the fact that there's just so many undead around every place. It's that Samantha keeps sending zombies after them.
Yep.
Wave after wave.
Wave
Literally.
after wave. Yeah. All right. So then, as soon as he says that, one of the scientists there at Griffin Station shoots Dr. Maxis.
Yes.
Shoots him straight in the head. Somehow, some way, his soul
And consciousness. Like he's
And
got
consciousness,
no mortal
yes.
body. His mortal body's done.
Correct. His mortal body dies, but somehow his being, his everything else,
Yes.
finds its way into the computer systems.
Yes.
Okay, so he now has total access to all computer systems at Griffin Station.
And a lot of this stuff like this, why it happens, is because of the whole Vril thing that we were telling you. They can't control it.
Correct.
And of course, Richtofen is the one that wants to control this. He wants this power.
Yes. All right, so now we have Samantha inside the MDT. We have Maxis inside the computers. Richtofen's now trying to figure out, what he's going to do next. We have the test subjects who are now, kind of alive because they have those little pieces of themselves that they use to work together to fend off the zombies. And Richtofen starts on his master plan of how he's going to take over. So, stay tuned for the next video.
Yeah, we'll get more into this later. They're gonna probably not run so much as long as this one, but we're unsure yet as we go.
Correct. So this has been just kind of the base story. This is where all of the maps kind of start. This is exactly where the maps start.
And if any of you guys are confused, don't hesitate to ask us in the comment section. Shane's here and he likes to talk to you guys. He'll explain anything to you. I would if I could. When I get free time, I sometimes check the YouTube channel and get on and message you guys back. But Shane will probably be the main point of contact for a while.
Yeah, and like he said, feel free to message us in the comment section. Send us messages, however you guys can get a hold of us. And I am more than happy. I will show you, our research. I'll give you web pages. I will walk you through this and make sure that you completely understand exactly what we're talking about. And as well as what we're going to be talking about. And,
Yes.
You can stay tuned because what we're going to be talking about will also kind of explain some of the questions that you have right now. Okay? So, like I said, this is the first video. This is part 1. This is the origins. This is the true origins of zombies. All right? So,
you know what, guys? Just join us as our epic story continues.
bye-bye.